And now we're on our fifth interaction, which is the third discovery meeting. At this point, you've had 5 interactions with your prospective customer. You're coming out of a meeting where you just helped them really create a cool avatar about their customer. You're going to have started to provide a lot of value as part of your sales process for free. You're going to start to build a relationship with them, and you're going to really start to distance yourself from your other potential competitors that might be bidding for this business, because they're all just working directly towards the proposal, and you're actually working with them to figure out a lot of really cool information about their business that you're going to provide a great solution for later. But right now you're still in discovery mode. You're coming out of that customer avatar, and at this point you're going to spend this entire meeting really trying to understand their market and their competition. So our objective for this meeting is going to be to get a deep understanding of your prospects' market and competition. So to understand their market and competition, first we're going to spend some time thinking about your prospect's market. So now when I say market, I'm talking about a few different things. One, I'm talking about the size of their market. So do they know how big their market is? Is there 1,000 potential customers, 1 million potential customers? Getting an idea of just the magnitude of where they're currently operating in. Then another important aspect is key competitors. I find asking them about their key competitors very interesting, because a lot of times when you start talking to your prospect about their key competitors, they'll start naming businesses that maybe don't line up with who their key competitors are on the web or in search marketing and that kind of stuff. So it's always really valuable to get their perspective on who their key competitors are, and it's going to help you kind of build a good picture of what the market size is. Are they working against 3 or 4 other companies for 100,000 potential customers? Are they working, against one other competitor for 1 million customers? Getting a good idea of their size of their overall market is a really good part of this process. And finally on market is, of course, geography. So geography can be important to understand, because you want to know if the person operates on a local, a regional, a national, or an international level. When we were working with a lot of restaurant customers, it was really important to know that most restaurants target customers within a 10 or 15 mile area. So understanding their geography and how that pertains to their market size is really important. And a lot of times it could be helpful to even pull out a map and really get a visual understanding of what their market is. Don't just list off some states or some neighborhoods, but actually look at that area just so that you understand where they're trying to get more customers and how they're trying to grow their operation. One time we worked with an organization that ran volunteer programs at national parks, and they had like 100 different programs. And it was really helpful for us to literally pull out a map and start going through photos of all the different national parks, and it helped me get a really good visual understanding. And later on in the project, I was actually able to create part of my solution was all about highlighting all of those different national park programs and using Google Maps and that kind of stuff. And so that can be in a really important kind of discovery session to understand where their market is and how they're actually approaching that market. The next thing that you're going to want to do with understanding their market and competition is what I call kind of understanding their current online business. Now I like to tell people that businesses have a physical presentation, a physical bricks and mortar presence. They may have an office, they may have a warehouse, they might have a building or employees or whatever. They've got this physical manifestation, and then they've got this online version of that. And so a lot of times clients don't really know what the online version of their business looks like, and so this is where it can get really interesting. Typically when you want to go and start evaluating their online business, this is something that you've done some research and some preparation for, but you're going to start to key your customer into what actually is going on with their business but online. One of the things that's really important in this space is keywords. I want to ask the customer what kind of keywords they use to describe their business and their service, and what kind of keywords they think that their potential customers are using to try to find their business. And usually you'll want to do some of your own keyword research, because sometimes people don't really have a very good understanding, or they haven't developed a good matrix of potential keywords. And so what I'd like to do is spend some time working with them to develop some keywords and using that as part of your market research. And then of course taking those keywords to major search engines. And this is where some of the magic's going to happen, because when you start to punch in these keywords into the search engines, they had this idea of who their top competitors were in their minds, kind of who they run into at conferences and that kind of stuff. But what we're going to do is actually show them who their competition is online, because they may know who their competition is in the physical space, but they have no idea who's actually getting #1 position or #2 position in Google for all the various keyword terms that you've helped them to understand. So at this point in discovery, you're actually going to move the conversation from just them talking about their business and then actually moving to start having the computer in front of you. So you're not like showing them like a demo of technology, you're just using this as a point in time to do some research, but you're actually researching with Google to show them who their competitors are and to show them what their market looks like on the internet. So now, besides search engines, you're going to want to look at some other channels as well. And when I say other channels, this is very much dependent upon, what kind of business that customer's in. Let's say, for instance, I like to use a restaurant analogy because we worked with a lot of restaurants. But Yelp and City Search were a prime location for restaurants to market. So a lot of times what I'd do is I'd use search research as part of my understanding of what's going on the internet when it comes to the online business. But then I would go over to Yelp and I'd see who's in the top 5 list for brunch. I'd go see who's the top 5 list for downtown Denver dinner or whatever. And I'd use Yelp as a place to start to dissect and see who's kind of got the #1 ratings, who's got the worst ratings and that kind of stuff. So you're going to want to find some other channels. This could be different directories and stuff like that. Yelp, Bing, Yahoo, that kind of stuff. Start looking at some other potential channels. Associations usually have some really great directories. They might have featured or sponsored companies. And so by looking at these other channels, you'll start to get an idea of who the competitors really are, who are the people that are spending money in the online space, and where does your prospect sit in that space. Now, the last part of what we're going to be doing in understanding our prospects' market and their competition is looking at competitors' websites. Now, this exercise can usually be a pretty cool play on your prospective customer's ego, because having to actually sit there and look at your competitors' websites and see all the stuff they're doing can sometimes kind of stir up the blood a little bit, and it's kind of a fun exercise. But it's always good to see what the competitors are doing online. A lot of times this will give you a good indication of what kind of strategies or tactics might be available. For instance, let's say you were starting to go into your keyword research and you found that really nobody was targeting specific keywords, and then you start looking at your competitors' websites and you realize that they don't have any kind of cool conversion strategy or email opt-in campaign, and they're spending all their time talking about themselves versus talking about their customer. And so these are some of those things that when you start looking at the competitors' websites, you can bring into the conversation a lot of the previous conversation that you've already had with them, talking to them about some of these points to make of size and key competitors and geography, and see how their competitors are doing with this. You also want to, of course, look at the actual design and the professionalism. So to look at their different websites of the people that are competing against your prospect and see are they designed professionally? Are they actually sites that are managed well? Is the design attractive? Is their brand represented well? To start to kind of dissect what their competition's doing, and it's going to help you to start to build value for what you could potentially do. Also take a look at what kind of voice, kind of who the website speaks to. So looking at, are these competitors, are they talking very internally about their business, or are they really well put together and are they actually talking about the prospective customers' pains and problems? Because that's the solution that you're going to provide. You're going to talk to them, you're going to build the website so it speaks directly to their customer, but you're going to look at their competitors and you're going to start to be able to point out stuff. You're going to be like, see, look, they don't, they're talking all about themselves. They're not talking about your customers' problems. And so there's an opportunity that we can potentially look at here. And one thing I always like to look at my customers' competitors is what kind of conversion tactics are they using? And we'll talk about conversion tactics here in the next section, but conversion tactics are really about like opt-in programs or any kind of promotion. What are they doing to actually turn traffic into a prospective lead for that business. And so that's a really good thing to look at the competitors, kind of to see what kind of opportunity, because what you could do is, if you realize that nobody in the playing field is using some of these tactics and thinking about this stuff, then that becomes a really cool part of your value proposition later on when you actually propose a solution, because you're going to help your customer actually achieve some of this stuff.